nothing to our nation.
New Fox poll says most Americans are voting against either Hillary or Trump. Not for them. But why? Talking Points and Charles Krauthammer will analyze.
Is China America's friend or enemy?
China, America, of course, are friends.
Can you guys take care of North Korea for us?
Wow, that is too much.
Also ahead, Trump has been very hard on China. How's that playing in Chinatown? Jesse Waters on the case.
You're a very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to nosy fellows?
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Voting against a potential president, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The latest Fox News poll has an intriguing question. What is your biggest motivation voting for president this year? Fear the other candidate wins, 57%. Enthusiasm for a candidate, just 39%. Well, that pretty much says it all. The majority of American voters are voting against rather than for Clinton or Trump. So why is that happening? Let's take Donald Trump first. His problems with voters originate in two areas. First, his business background. It is not compatible with politics. Business people like Trump, and to some extent Mitt Romney before him, maximize profits and promote their products, sometimes in flamboyant ways. Both of those things can be exploited politically. For example, when the New York Times reports that Donald Trump took a $900 million tax loss back in 1995, the paper does so in an accusatory way. But almost any corporation would do the same thing. If some of your enterprises tank, you are allowed to deduct the losses against future gains. That's a hallmark of our tax system in America. So, of course, Trump took advantage of his faltering casinos and wrote off gigantic losses. Fair-minded people can look at it two ways, that Trump is gaming the system because he's not upfront about his tax returns, or that he is to be admired for taking losses and then turning his companies around. As a responsible voter, how you see it is entirely up to you. But there's no question that Mr. Trump's getting hammered in the court of public opinion because his opposition is labeling him a business failure and a greed head. Whether Mr. Trump can overcome the New York Times report remains to be seen. It's the same on the woman issue. This whole Alicia Machado deal is basically a contrived situation. Ms. Machado despises Donald Trump, signed on with the Clinton campaign to disparage him. For his part, Trump does what he always does. He took a business situation, the Miss Universe pageant, which he owned, and tried to maximize publicity. So when Miss Machado gained some weight in the 1990s, Trump exploited it by taking her to the gym and getting media attention. If you know anything about Donald Trump, that's what he does. Gets attention, sometimes crass attention. So Trump is vulnerable because of his business background and his high-profile marketing strategies. And the Clinton campaign is using that to brand him a misogynist, among other things. Of course, the press is playing along with that. Yesterday, NBC's Chuck Todd tried to lay a trap for Rudy Giuliani about the woman issue and the Clinton marriage.
She was wrong to stand by her husband?
No, she was wrong to attack the victim.
Are you the right person to level this charge?
Yeah, I'm the right person to level this charge because I've never made such a charge, and I prosecuted people who committed rape.
But your past, you have your own infidelity, sir.
Well, everybody does, and I'm a Roman Catholic, and I confess those things to my priest. But I've never ever attacked someone who's been the victim of sexual abuse. Not only that, I've put people in jail who've been the victim of sexual abuse, and I've never participated in that. And I think you're bringing up my personal life really is kind of irrelevant to what Hillary Clinton did. She's running for president. I'm not.
Now, Mr. Todd was totally out of line, trying to set up Mr. Giuliani that way. He owes the mayor an apology. But the central issue is that Donald Trump feels he needs to discuss the Clinton marriage.
Hillary Clinton's only loyalty is to her financial contributors and to herself. I don't even think she's loyal to Bill, you want to know the truth. And really, folks, really, why should she be, right?
Talking Points believes statements like that are a mistake, that American voters, especially women, do not like the personal stuff. They don't like it when Rudy Giuliani is attacked. They don't like it when presidential candidates descend into the mud. Yes, if Hillary Clinton attacks Donald Trump on the woman issue, he has a right to defend himself, but he should keep it pithy. Any disparagement of any woman by Trump will drive his numbers down with women voters, and Trump needs more of them if he wants to win the White House. Now let's take a look at why Hillary Clinton is not very popular with the public these days. Her main problem stems from the perception that she does not tell the truth. There's little Mrs. Clinton can do about that. Benghazi, the emails, Whitewater, all that stuff, not going to go away. The secretary is smart to play down those questions. She'll never win on that front. Going on the defensive is not a winning political strategy. But in order to get away from the perception that she's not an honest person, she must convince Americans that she is really looking out for them, that her political vision would be beneficial to the country. In order to do that, Mrs. Clinton must talk directly to the folks. But she avoids most interviews, perhaps because of the email and Benghazi stuff. It's a catch-22. You can Google that if you don't know what that means. But Hillary Clinton has a larger problem, and that is a kind of personality quirk. We saw that the day after last week's debate.
Did anybody see that debate last night? Oh, yes.
Now, that looked an awful lot like gloating, which politicians can do to some extent, but it doesn't really help in the personality arena.
That clip shows this kind of self-congratulation, this self-satisfaction, and as we know and as we try to teach our children, when you win something, don't gloat. Humility works, and the problem for her is this feeds the notion that she's in this for herself.
Mr. Woodward nails it. If Hillary Clinton wants to be president, she needs to back away from "it's all about me" and make it all about us. Again, the only way to do that is to speak directly to the folks. Summing up, right now we have two presidential candidates who worry a lot of voters. If the election were held tomorrow, Talking Points believes the turnout would be low. And many of those who did not vote, many of those who did vote, would be voting against rather than for one of the candidates. There is still time for Clinton and Trump to get a more positive policy-oriented message to the voters, but both of them have to stop making mistakes, stop the mudslinging, stop being self-centered. Finally, Donald Trump is a man who does not take slights well, and I can sympathize. I'm the same way. But over the years, I've learned to ignore most of the smears that come my way because I have far more important things to do here on The Factor than to deal with personal slights. That lesson did not come easy to me, and I wasted some of your time talking about stupid stuff that I should have ignored. Today, I let a lot of stuff go. And Donald Trump might consider doing the same thing. His supporters like his policy vision. They don't care about the personal stuff. In the end, Mr. Trump will have to win over more supporters to be elected, and policy is the way to do it. And that's a memo. Next on the Rundown, Charles Krauthammer will react. Later, Waters goes to Chinatown to see how the Trump-China vision is playing down there. The Factor is coming right back. Continuing now with our lead story, most American voters not liking either of the two candidates. Joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. Today, in Pueblo, Colorado, south in the state, Trump defended himself against the New York Times exposition and Hillary Clinton saying he's not contributing anything to the country by not paying taxes. Is that wise to mount an aggressive defense?
Well, I think he sort of has to. It would be preferable if he could just sidestep it. That's what you would want, and that's what you have surrogates for. That's why he sent out Giuliani and Christie on the weekend, who said he's a genius for ducking taxes. I don't know if you're a genius. You hire the right lawyers and you make the decision to go ahead and to pay the minimal amount of taxes. I do think he needs to say something. The reason is he's resisted for a year the release of his taxes, and Hillary hit him pretty squarely by saying what are the reasons. There are only a few possible to explain that. Nobody believes the audit excuse. Even his son said on TV he doesn't want 3,000. He doesn't want 300,000 people critiquing the tax returns.
And that was
so.
reasonable.
But I think he's got to give some explanation, because this is obviously either the reason or the main reason why he wouldn't release his taxes.
Okay, now I want
so
you to
he needs to say something.
Step out of your role as a pundit, just as an American citizen, okay? So what he did, and we have Stuart Varney coming up behind you, so we're going to talk more about nuts and bolts, but I don't want to get into that. But what Trump did was perfectly legal, and I would submit to you that 95% of all businesses, if they get hammered in a certain year, take as much as they can on a loss basis, so they can, when they make profits, they can have that as a shield. So we understand it intellectually, but emotionally, do you feel most Americans are going to turn against Trump because of this?
I think emotionally, most Americans will be offended by two things. Number one, remember in the debate, she said maybe because he didn't pay any taxes, and he says, well, that would make me smart. Well, her follow-up the next day was pretty good. If that's smart, then what about you who pay taxes? That implies that you're stupid. It doesn't help to essentially be calling the voters dumb for following the rules.
But
and
I didn't take it that way.
Taxes.
I didn't get that as the implication, and believe me, I pay
many people
enormous amount of taxes. Okay,
well,
and
yeah,
I'm not going to dispute that. Look, it sunk Romney, the rich guy hiding money in the Caymans or whatever they threw at him, really hurt him. But on this level, with Trump making his whole campaign about what an astute businessman he is, then he can say, look, this was available to me. 95% of corporations would do it. I did it. So why is it being rammed down my throat?
Well, in his case, it's, it isn't as if he's acting for IBM. Trump Organization is Trump. When he says I had a fiduciary responsibility to my company, that means to myself.
Yeah, and his family and his employees.
Yeah, the family and employees, that's
right.
True.
Yeah.
But this is not as if he's acting for some
Come on,
third
you're
party.
splitting hairs here, Charles. I mean, if you have if you are a businessman and you have a code, a tax code, and you follow the tax code, I'm not understanding why this is heinous.
I didn't say it was heinous. You asked me how I thought people would react. I'm telling you how the ordinary person who pays a substantial amount in taxes would react. There's a very rich guy. He could afford it. He keeps talking about what government is doing. He's not contributing to it. I think the visceral effect, we're not doing intellectual analysis here, is A, I'm a chump for paying my taxes, and B, he's something less than patriotic if he didn't contribute something.
Okay. And I
think
see
that's the
that
feeling.
some people, probably the anti-Trump crowd, will see it that way. Now, I expect this to come up tomorrow night in the vice presidential debate. Kaine has got to lead with it and try to get Pence into a corner on it. And then, of course, next Sunday night with Cooper and Raddatz. So is that fair, though? Hillary Clinton's got a lot of stuff in her closet that she did, but this might be all overridden by this tax thing.
Everything is fair. Is there any piece of garbage that hasn't been pulled out in this election and tossed over the net at the other guy? No. So the fairness issue is not an issue. The question is, will it resonate? I think it does resonate, but mostly because he's been hiding his taxes and is the first candidate in several generations to do so. That increases the salience. And also it means that we now get an October surprise instead of an October 2015 surprise, at which point you could ride it out a lot more easily. The later this stuff comes out, the more damaging it can be.
So Trump,
and that's on him. That's a decision he made.
He has to have a very strong defense, and he started it today in Colorado, in order to counter that, because I agree with you, it's not going to go away right now, and people are going to want to hear what he has to say about it. Charles Krauthammer, everyone. Directly ahead, Stuart Varney, as mentioned, and some thoughts about the Trump tax situation. And later, both Trump and Clinton on the campaign trail today. Did they attack each other? You bet they did. We'll show you what happened up ahead. Impact segment tonight, as we report in the Talking Points memo, the New York Times printed a partial tax return for Donald Trump from the year 1995. It said the businessman took a whopping $916 million loss against future earnings. One footnote, somebody sent the New York Times that information and may have even mailed it from the Trump Tower. By the way, it is technically illegal for anyone to print someone else's tax return. With us now here in New York City, Stuart Varney, anchor on the Fox Business Network. So you're a Trump supporter. When you read this story, did you think this is going to hurt him?
Yes, I did. I think it gives an opportunity to his opponent who will say, see, the rich do not pay their fair share in taxes, Donald Trump included. I think it's going to be brought up in the vice presidential debate tomorrow night by Tim Kaine, and Hillary Clinton has already brought it up.
Yeah, she brought it up today, and she'll do it in a debate next Sunday night, too.
It's an opportunity for his opponent, and they're going to run with it. I think what Donald Trump needs to do is to pivot away from that tax problem back in the 1990s to his tax policy right now, because that is a winning policy. That will be a winning issue
tax
for him.
cut policy.
Absolutely. It's the only plan out there that gets America growing again. You need to get growth to get back to prosperity. That's important.
But remember, Romney was caught up in a similar situation last time around, and he wanted to cut taxes, or so he said, as well. But they demonized Romney as this rich guy who may have offshore accounts, hide money, didn't care about the 48% who needed assistance on all of that. Wouldn't it be wiser for Trump to say, listen, I took a legal tax break because my company was in trouble back then, and I turned it around, and everything I did, every corporation would have done. And by demonizing me, Mrs. Clinton, a wealthy individual herself, is basically being dishonest because she knows what I did was perfectly legal.
I wouldn't want him to go back to something like he's gone back to the beauty queen.
Yeah, but it's a different situation, though.
Yes, it is.
Because he built his campaign on being a good businessman.
Sometimes he can't let things go, and he really needs to let things go. The beauty queen,
that was
heaven's
ridiculous.
sake.
Right,
and don't ever go out in public and mix a woman's weight with women. I mean, don't do that.
No,
That's
I know, but you got, like I said in the Talking Points, you got to cut him a little slack because he had no idea he was going to run for office back then. He was trying to get publicity, and that's what he did. He didn't do it intentionally. He did it to try to buff up the Miss Universe contest. Not make any excuses, just putting it in context. But let's get back to his tax thing. He does have a problem because he isn't releasing his tax returns, and traditionally candidates do. All right. Now he gets exposed for this massive tax write-off. So you're advising Trump, and you say just ignore this?
No. I say turn it to your advantage. What he did was he took this huge loss, $916 million, discounted it against his future income, therefore paid no income tax, we think, in a number of years. He should turn that around and say, look how I bounced back. Yeah, I took one big loss, but you should admire me. He shouldn't have to say that, but admire the man for an extraordinary bounce back. And after all, he only did what millions of Americans have done. I did that. I took a hit on a house that I owned in the 1980s, lost a lot of money, took a tax loss in a couple of years in the future against my future income. Millions of Americans do this. It's part of our tax code. It's part of our way of getting back after you've made a big loss.
What about the argument that Secretary Clinton is making, and she made it today, that if you don't pay any taxes because you have these write-offs and these losses, you don't really contribute much to the defense of America or the infrastructure or the well-being of the country?
He was contributing to America by regrowing his business, which now employs thousands of people and works all around the world. I think that's a better contribution to the economy and to America than pumping money into the government, which wastes an awful lot of it.
Will he have to address that? I think that the two moderators, Cooper and Raddatz of ABC, Cooper of CNN, will hammer him on his taxing.
Yes.
So we know
Kaine will bring it up. Even if the moderators don't bring it up, Tim Kaine definitely will.
Well, but Kaine doesn't really have much. I mean, you know, Kaine, Pence. You know, look.
I think he should just go on the attack. He's got a terrific tax-cutting plan, which will give us growth and, I think, prosperity. That's why I support the
But he has to answer some of the questions that come his way. So you've got to
he's got to learn how to be a good politician and deflect and pivot very, very quickly.
Yeah,
I heard all about that back in the 1990s. Now look at this. I got a plan that's going to make you prosperous. Bring back America and the middle class.
This is a speculative question. I don't usually ask them, but since you did go on record, and you are a Trump supporter, saying he's wrong to defend himself in these kinds of beauty contests and other things, why do you think he does it?
I don't think he can control himself. I think there's an element of vanity in the man. When attacked, he will punch back incessantly.
See, that's always worked for him in business.
Yes, but in the primaries it worked.
But in politics, it doesn't always work.
And in the presidential election, I don't think it works. He's got to learn how to give something up. When you've lost something, give it up. Move on. Turn positive. Pivot.
All right, Stuart Varney, everyone. There he is. Plenty more Here's a Fact and moves along this evening. Does anyone care about the vice presidential debate tomorrow night? Bueller? Anyone? Karl Rove might care, so he'll be here. The Waters in Chinatown talking politics.
Trump ripping on China at the debate. How does it feel to be Trump's punching bag?
Forget about China.
Forget about China?
Yeah, this is USA.
We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Campaign 2016 segment tonight. Both candidates, Clinton and Trump, running around doing events today. Here's some sound.
I have legally used the tax laws to my benefit and to the benefit of my company, my investors, and my employees. I mean, honestly, I have brilliantly used those laws.
In the debate, he said it was smart to avoid paying taxes. Yesterday, his campaign was bragging it makes him a genius. Here's my question. What kind of genius loses $1 billion in a single year?
Joining us now from Boston, Marianne Marsh. Here in New York City, Monica Crowley. So Trump had a tough time last week. You would admit that,
yes.
Right? All right. And what do you think was the reason that he lost the momentum? Was it the debate? Was it something else? What was it?
Well, I think it was twofold. First, I think about halfway through the debate, he lost his balance a little bit because he allowed Mrs. Clinton to get under his skin on the tax return issue, on the women issue, and so on. So I think he emerged from the debate a little weaker than when he went in. And then he pursued the Miss Universe thing at 3 o'clock in the morning on his Twitter feed, which was not the smartest move because he allows himself to be distracted and go down these rabbit holes when most voters understand this country has serious
All right.
problems.
I asked Stuart this question. Why do you think he does it? Because I'm sure his advisors have told him not to play small ball, and if you're hit with something like that, just whack it away and then go on to the big things.
I think personality-wise and politically, he believes staying on offense is a smart idea, which generally it is. But when you're running at this level, you have to determine what's worthy of staying on offense and what is not. Going after a Miss Universe from 20 years ago is not worthy of this. The presidential nominees on both sides should never be caught punching down. Punching down to Miss Universe was a big mistake for him.
Marianne, when Hillary Clinton makes it about Donald Trump and not about improving the lives of the people she says she cares about, isn't that a bad move?
You have to do both, and she's tried to do both the last several weeks, but you also have to capitalize upon the events. And the last several days, to Monica's point and yours earlier, have been epically bad for Donald Trump. So you have to take full advantage of that. We are still in the negative stage of this campaign, believe it or not, and it's going to get more negative, I think, unfortunately. So when Donald Trump had the kind of performance at the debate he did, he continued it with the Twitter feed, criticizing Miss Universe, criticizing Hillary Clinton's illness, criticizing her marriage. He makes it worse. So of course you're going to call those things out.
But I'm not so sure that helps her, though, because as you saw in the Fox poll, all right, as you saw, and every poll says the same thing. Americans don't really like Secretary Clinton at this point. They don't like her. If they did like her, she'd be ahead by 30 points. Doesn't matter. It's a new guy, all right? So it doesn't matter. They don't like her, all right? So isn't it worth Secretary Clinton's time and effort to try to win people over rather than, hammering negativity all day long?
She will, and she is, but I think the point here, Bill, is...
And how do you know she will? She isn't, and how do you know she will?
The point here, Bill, is voters' reservations about Donald Trump have to do with his temperament and bias against women and minorities.
Marianne,
no, and
I'm not going to let you blather on. You didn't answer the question. This isn't about Trump. This is about her.
Bill,
right?
the fact is
she
was in New Hampshire talking about college affordability to kids. She's been talking about jobs. She's been talking about the economy. She mixes it up. She's been doing all
that. Her headlines are all Trump's the devil. Her headlines are all Trump's the devil. That is the headline.
Trump is making Trump the devil right now.
All right.
Period.
Wait, do you get my point about Secretary Clinton?
Yes, and I can tell you why she's doing it.
All right, but step back out of your I like Trump, I hate Hillary posture. All right? I'm trying to understand why someone as experienced as Secretary Clinton isn't trying to win people over.
Because she cannot run on her record, therefore she has to reach back 20 years
it doesn't have anything to do with a record.
And try to make the race
it's
about
Donald
Trump. I know, but what I'm trying to tell you is there are certain political rules of gravity here. Mrs. Clinton can't abide by any of them because she cannot run on her record. So she has to make this race about Donald Trump, but here's the problem for her. And Trump has this challenge as well. It is not enough to tear your opponent down, although you do need to do that, to Marianne's point. You also have to offer voters a positive,
an uplift of some kind
to vote for you rather than just the other guy.
Obama did that, Marianne. I got 25 seconds, so you can close it. Obama did that. Like him or not, he was giving you that. But so far, I haven't seen it from Hillary Clinton. 20 seconds. Go.
You have, and you will, and she will continue to. But you have to take advantage of the events in front of you. And last point, Bill, the fact is she's moved up in every single poll, nationally and in the battleground states that matter.
One.
So if it wasn't working, she wouldn't move up in the polls.
Except one poll.
Which one?
Trustworthiness
Ohio?
Has not moved up. All right, ladies, thanks very much. We come right back. Karl Rove on the very exciting vice presidential debate. It will be exciting, won't it? And Waters in Chinatown, moments away.
The O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment tonight. As you may know, the big vice presidential debate is tomorrow. I say big because we'd like you to watch it. But some believe it may not be big. I hope it's big. Joining us from Austin, Texas, Karl Rove. So a new poll from ABC News says 41% of Americans cannot name Mike Pence as the VP candidate. 46% don't know who Tim Kaine is. What does that tell you, Mr. Rove?
Well, it tells me that tomorrow night's debate is going to be between what's his face and who's that guy. And but I still think it's going to generate a very large turnout because a lot of people, I think, are very interested in this election, and I think they want to hear from these two guys, and they're going to be, I think, pleasantly surprised. I think we'll have a civil debate with two people who come across as well-informed, thoughtful, and maybe even better spoken than their principals at the top of the ticket.
Do you know if either of those two men, throughout their career, have ever run a Miss Universe contest? Have they?
No, I don't think so. No. But Tim Kaine might have run the Miss Guatemala contest.
No, he's a missionary down there. He was a missionary.
I am confident that while he had no role in choosing it, that Governor Pence, as the governor of Indiana, awarded the Miss Indiana State Fair Corn Girl prize.
So here it's a two-pronged sword. They're I think both are good guys and good public servants. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, both of them. But they're bland, and you know they're going to be echoing different things. Now, some people think that Kaine is going to go on the attack against Trump, ignore Pence, and just say, hey, the guy you're running with is X, Y, and Z. Do you expect that to happen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I expect Pence to largely ignore Kaine, except to the degree that he can lump Kaine and Clinton together, like in their support of Obamacare. They'll both try, and if normally we've seen in vice presidential debates, they occasionally will take a whack at each other to sort of, show that there's a difference between them and their principle. For example, Kaine might go after Pence and say, well, you supported the Obamacare Medicaid expansion, unlike Trump. I mean, we may see a little of that, but it's inconsequential, unimportant. I think the main thing will be, what do these people leave in the impression about the person at the top of the ticket who picked them? And I think both of these people are going to cause people to say, well, you know what? Clinton did a pretty good job. Trump did a pretty good job. In fact, some people may say, geez, why aren't these guys at the top of the ticket instead of the people that we got?
All right. So you think there's going to be a substantial audience tomorrow night?
I think so, not because they know who's his face and what's his name. It's because the contest has drawn so much attention.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to naturally have a lot of people excited about watching it. And they expect you to be moderating it. That's what they've heard. I'm getting that out on the internet as best I can.
If I moderate it, it's totally different because I don't just ask questions, I debate answers. And that separates me from all the other moderators. And also, I'd be fair, which I don't think the moderators always are.
On the debate thing, be careful because Candy Crowley debated that answer from Mitt Romney, so be a little careful.
But I debate things fact-based,
There
not
we go.
pulling stuff out of the wind. Now, you heard the discussion between Marianne and Monica, and my question went unanswered. I guess Monica answered a little bit, saying Hillary Clinton doesn't have much of a record to run on.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing, a very seasoned politician in Mrs. Clinton, and I'm not seeing a lot of effort to uplift her image as a person, not as a politician. Why do you think that's not happening?
Well, I think Monica might be right that she doesn't have a lot to do there with that. There's not a lot of material to work with. On the other hand, the campaign may be understanding that and say, you know what, as long as he is out there talking about Miss Universe, Miss Venezuela's weight problem, and as long as he's out there talking about the tax problem, let's not use the limited amount of positive forward-looking stuff we've got prematurely. They may be holding on to it after a moment after the second debate or the third debate where they say, wait, let's use it and use it now. They may not have a lot that they think will actually grab people and shake people up and say, this is a positive and optimistic vision for the future. But I agree with you. They got to have it. The winner is going to be the person that at the end of the day causes people to say, my future and the future of my family is going to be better because he or she is going to be the president.
Let me leave you with one word of wisdom. Ready?
I'm ready. One word. One.
No. One
You
phrase
said one
of
word.
wisdom.
You said one word.
All right, well, I'm correcting myself. At the end of the day, there is only night. Karl Rove, everyone. Waters on deck. He goes to Chinatown because Trump is hammering China. Waters is next. Back at the book segment tonight, Waters World. In the first presidential debate, China was mentioned 12 times, mostly in a negative way, especially by Donald Trump. So we sent Waters down to New York's Chinatown to sample political opinion.
Am I supposed to bow to say hello?
你好，你好。
I like these watches. Are they hot?
JC Penney 398.
Do you like Donald Trump?
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Basically, it's the extension of Obama.
Who are you going to vote for?
Clinton wife.
Clinton's wife has a name. What is it?
Oh man, I forget it.
Snap out of it. What do you think about Donald Trump?
I don't like it. He has a big mouth.
He can say what he wants. It doesn't really affect me. And I don't think he's going to win, so.
Trump has been beating up on China. How does that make you feel?
Speak! Speak! Why don't you speak?
Donald Trump beating up on China at the debate. Is it the year of the dragon? Rabbit? Who are you going to vote for?
I really don't want to vote for Trump, so Hillary.
So China can keep ripping us off.
I guess.
Now Trump wants to build a wall to keep the Mexicans out.
Mm-hmm.
Square that circle.
I like Donald Trump. Before I was a gambler.
Jackpot. Is everything made in China now?
Not everything.
Tell me what's not made in China.
I can't think of it right now.
Me neither.
I'm explaining to you because you look nervous.
Is China America's friend or enemy?
China and America, of course, are friends.
Can you guys take care of North Korea for us?
Wow, that is too much.
Yikes. I guess frenemies?
Frenemies? Do they call Chinese food in China just food? Do you have any traditional Chinese herbs for performance?
I'm not gonna ask my parents about that.
I meant on television.
Oh, okay, okay.
Was there a seed in that?
Sweep the leg.
Do you know karate?
Yeah, I know.
Hit my hand. That's nothing.
Okay.
Okay, one. Do you guys like to party?
Yeah, tonight we go to party.
Oh, that's the spot.
Oh, God, I'm going to get sick.
Oh, God.
How do they dance in China? Can you play This Little Piggy Went to Market? How do I say in Chinese, this is my world?
呢個係我嘅世界。
Ligo Hanoi Saitai.
You gotta say it right. You don't say it. Nigo.
Nigo.
Not Japanese, Chinese. You gotta do it properly.
Okay, teach me.
Otherwise, forget it.
Nigor Hai.
我
Go.
嘅世界。
Guess I got.
That's it.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
That last guy hated you.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
One of many.
But when you go down to Chinatown, it seemed like everybody's aware of what's going on. Some people say it's very insulated and they don't interact with American politics, but it looked like everybody knew what was going on.
You thought people knew what was going on?
Most of the people answered your questions in a direct way. A few people, the old lady, I don't think she knew.
No, she didn't. They're such a polite people. They won't walk away or tell me to get out of here. They just sit there and say nothing.
They're patient. They want you to walk away because they don't have anything else to do.
Right, but I get paid to not walk away, so they had no idea.
But you weren't. It's gentle fun, so
Yes.
I know we're going to get letters. It's inevitable, but it was gentle.
It was all in good fun.
But most of the people that you spoke with, particularly the younger people, they knew what was going on.
They did. I think it was probably 60-40 pro-Hillary, anti-Trump.
You know, that surprised me. I didn't know Trump was going to do that well.
Yeah.
Jesse Waters, everyone. There he is. Factor Tip of the day. Are you a real conservative? The tip, moments away. Factor Tip of the day, defining a real conservative in a moment. But first, received an email from BillO'Reilly.com premium member Joe LaGras, who lives in Escondido, California, saying he's renewing his membership because he likes his own personal daily newscast, the No Spin News, and the message boards. Thanks for your loyalty, Joe. For the re-up, or if you sign up yourself, you get Killing the Rising Sun or any of my other books free of charge. Rising Sun remains the #1 nonfiction book in the world, although Bruce Springsteen will challenge that. We are ready for the boss and the brawl. Thanks again for all of you who are supporting the book. Now the mail. Jerry Mulchberger, born in Texas. President Obama will not say Islamic terrorism because he doesn't want to hurt the feelings of good Muslims, but he supports Colin Kaepernick's right to disrespect the flag despite the hurt that might cause. Not quite, Jerry. Part of the president's thinking has to do with not alienating Muslim nations that the USA needs to fight the war on terror. The Kaepernick thing, largely symbolic and dying out. I think it's going to die out. Linda Reynolds, Columbia, South Carolina. O'Reilly, I think that what Brit Hume said about Hillary Clinton's facial expressions being unattractive was in context. Yet if Trump had said the same thing, you, Bernie, and Brit would have crucified him. Give me a break, Linda. Factor's coverage of Mr. Trump has been very fair from the jump. Jeff Daniels, Willis, Michigan. Brit Hume would not have said attractive had he been talking about a man. That, by definition, makes it a sexist statement. Yeah. Men can be attractive, too, Jeff. I don't know any, but I hear it can happen. Adam Silverman, Taipei, Taiwan. Bill, you dropped the ball. Hume meant Hillary is unattractive to voters. That's false, Adam. He was clearly talking about facial reactions in the debate. Charlie Perlow, Beverly, Massachusetts. O'Reilly, this was on our local police log. Father reported arguing with son. He wanted to watch O'Reilly. The son wanted CNN. Hope the kid didn't get arrested, Charlie, but it's a misdemeanor, so it doesn't really matter. Marie Kasserman, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Killing the Rising Sun is exceptional. My husband's great uncle was in the Bataan Death March. Now I understand why he refused to talk about it. James Thomas, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Will Killing the Rising Sun be sold in Japan? We don't expect to be doing big business in Japan, James. But we ship there. So if somebody wants it, they can get it. Catherine McAteer, New York City. I noticed that the National Geographic Channel will be showing a documentary called Killing Reagan. Is that based on your book, O'Reilly? It's a movie, Catherine, starring Tim Matheson and Cynthia Nixon. It'll be shown on Nat Geo Sunday evening, October 16th. It's riveting. We're going to have some clips to show you before it airs. Finally, time, the fact or tip of the day. Are you a conservative person? New book edited by Fox News guy James Rosen called A Torch Kept Lit chronicles the writings of conservative icon William F. Buckley. So if you're looking for some political definition for yourself, this is the book for you. Plus, it's interesting to get Buckley's takes on a bunch of presidents, celebrities like Johnny Carson, John Lennon, and others. Also icons like Winston Churchill and Martin Luther King Jr. Good book. Factor tip of the day. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, differentfrombillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout up about the factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, do not be carious. I'm writing to the factor. If you know that word, you're good. Now, tomorrow we will be live leading up to the big vice presidential debate. And so, hey guys, might surprise you. I mean, they might come in, you know, haymakers. Nothing can top Sarah Palin, though, right? I mean, come on. So we're going to have a preview and pretty